parking lot up for the time.
Inshallah. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So we're talking about education and business development. That's what we were started on last time, and we want to just elaborate on that a little bit more for today. Business development and education, they go together, and it's the people that have education, that are become formidable in business development. Education is indicating that we're refined and that we have some knowledge, some understanding about what we're doing and how to go about doing it. When we have Walaikum assalam.
This is for
Inshallah. Shukran. Thank you very much. So basically, education is mentioning or saying to us that we have some kind of refinement and that we have some knowledge and understanding about what we're doing, and how to go about doing it. So education is paramount. Education is paramount to being successful in anything. It's, they say in this society that knowledge is power, and so to have the knowledge is where we start at if we want to do something that's meaningful and something that's really beneficial, especially for our community. And so we should be focusing our focus should be different, and it should be something that's unique to us and what our unique interests are and our to fit our circumstances. And it's time for us to start looking at ourselves in a way to where we're going to be more of an asset as opposed to a liability. And education is that tool that we have that gives us the ability to become an asset. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the hand like this is better than the hand like this. The hand that's giving is better than the hand that's receiving. And so all of us that are Muslim, we want to be people who can be contributory. During the season that we just underwent, the Hajj, and many times we see the Hajj from a distance because most of us aren't there. And we mentioned that on the Hajj day, the Hajj day when you're in Mecca, you're doing something different than what you're doing here. We're having the Eid prayers and celebrations and feast and all that. We're on the Eid day there, you're offering that initial sacrifice or that sacrifice that needs to be offered, the Qurbani. And I did some price checking, and the actual yearling, which is not even a lamb, I got a price that says $300. That's a lot of money, for an animal to sacrifice. And so the sadaqah for this time of year, for that occasion, is much more than the sadaqatul fitr that we offer during Ramadan. And so to be able to do that, you have to have the means, you have to have the wherewithal to give that substantial amount in charity. So business and education, they go together. People that strive to become more educated, there's a strong possibility that they're going to be in a situation to where they can make more money, to where they can have more resources, and if we're not careful though with the way the world is structured, we'll allow things to distract us so much so that we'll be out of the real race. I always mention about some things about race and racism and supremacists and all those kind of things that are distractions to where we really should be focused on. Because the real race is really the race for mastery of the resources and mastery of the created matter that Allah created. That's the real race, And if we're distracted by racism and what other people are saying or what they're doing or what's going on, and these things that are designed to push us off in the wrong direction, then we'll really be out of the race, the real race. And as Muslims, we want to be in the race for what Allah wants us to be concerned with and what Allah wants us to do. We mentioned that the Eid al-Adha is representative of the bigger picture of life, And the bigger picture of life is something that we all should be concerned about. It's not just, my own interest, but what is it that we can do that would be in the best interest of all people, especially within the best interest of our family and the best interest of our own community. And so it's about how much we're going to allow ourselves to know, how much information we're willing to absorb that's going to really be beneficial to us, as a group. What can we do that's beneficial to the group? Now that we passed that test that comes, the Eid al-Adha, that is the epitome, of what our way of life is all about. It's about us, and Ramadan is an individual victory. It's a victory that we have over those things that hold us back individually. But once we get over those hurdles, then we become more useful, more beneficial to the society that we're living in. And so we become more of an asset. So one has to preclude the other. One comes before the other. That's why Ramadan comes first. It doesn't come second. And we say that Ramadan is supposed to be our model month. This is the month that we're supposed to model our behavior by. And it's supposed to be the way we behave all year round. And we have to be in that mode of behavior before we can really be in the true spirit of sacrifice. Because once we have the spirit of sacrifice in us, now, again, it's not about me. It's not about the individual anymore. It's about us. So we want to make that sacrifice. What is that sacrifice? And we know Allah says that it's not the meat or the blood of the animal that reaches Him. It's your taqwa, it's your piety. So when we're pious, when we're concerned about how Allah is going to judge the matter or judge us in particular, then we know this is what gives us the wherewithal to start doing some of those things that are really need to be done in our community. Our community, especially, and I'm really speaking specifically to the community of African Americans in America. We're a community that is really, in a lot of ways we're behind. And we're not behind because we're materially weak. We're behind because we don't have the kind of vision that we need to have in order to spend the resources that we have correctly. We have money. We have money in our communities. We may not have the dollars that some other communities have, but many communities pool their resources better. They combine their resources better. They spend their resources better. And so it's about management. And business is suggesting that it's important. When we start talking about the business aspects of life and living, business, if I say I'm taking care of my business or I'm handling my business or I have some business to take care of, we're saying that whatever it is that I'm about to do or whatever it is I'm engaged in, it's important. It's not something mediocre. And so business is that's exactly what it's suggesting. And so education and business go together. In order to have a business that's going to run successfully, you got to really know what you're going to be. You got to really know what you're doing. You got to know what you're doing, how to go about doing it, and you have to be forthright in doing it. You have to be a good manager of the resources that you have in your in your arsenal. You have to be a good manager of that. You can't you just can't spend frivolously. You have to spend. You have to have a logic and a rationale behind the way you even spend the monies that you have or the resources that you have on your product. You have to know your market. You have to know your clientele. Those are all things that you have to be aware of if you plan on being successful in business. And again, in our community, we have to start looking at business more we have to start looking at business in a more aggressive way, because business is changing. A lot of the brick and mortar businesses are having trouble nowadays due to the internet, due to Amazon and some of these companies that you do over the internet and through the mail. All of those things are things that we should be exploiting right now. And I don't mean exploiting in a bad way. I'm talking about in a good way. We have the opportunity to take business to the same levels that some of these other companies and some of these other entities are taking business to. You have to be really, really, really adamant about that. You have to be forthright about that. And the imams, they have an obligation to start speaking to the aspects of business and business development, because Al-Islam doesn't want for us to be at the mercy of other people and to depend upon other people. Allah, one of the attributes of Allah is Al-Ghani, the independent. And as long as we feel as if though we're dependent upon Allah, Allah will make us independent of others. And we seek Allah for that, to make us independent and to give us the wherewithal to do the things that we need to do to secure our community and to secure our family and our community life. I'm a member of an organization called THS. It's True Human Services. And it's an effort to revive the spirit of that was similar to what we had in the Nation of Islam, the FOI spirit, the fruit of Islam. And fruit always suggests that it's something coming from another source. The fruit is what is the product that's yielded from a tree. So we want to be formidable in what we're doing. We want to be formidable in that, and we want to start being a little bit more aggressive about what we're doing. And so we need to have a bigger national footprint. One of the problems that I brought to the attention of people that I'm affiliated with is that many times in many cities you see all of these Muslims in business. You see Muslims in business, especially outside of our community. They build Masjid all over the country, beautiful structures. They spend millions and millions of dollars on them. They can raise, and locally, many people outside of our community can raise millions of dollars locally. And we have trouble raising millions of dollars nationally. We can't raise it. If we tried to raise $1 million nationally, we would have difficulty doing that. Right. But we still should be able to do so, and we have to start trusting in people that have the vision to make something happen on a national level. And I think THS, True Human Services, is that vehicle. I myself, I'm the business director of the organization, and my concern is Social Security. And I say Social Security is economic security. Even though many of the aspects of what we're about is securing the Masjid, securing our leaders, making sure that they're secure from a physical standpoint, but we also need to have Social Security in our community. And again, I say the foundation for Social Security is economic security. Once we have a strong economic footprint, in other words, when we start having resources, material resources, then we'll start to make a bigger difference and a bigger impact, in this country, in our cities, and in our towns, and in this nation. Because everything in this country evolves around the dollar. It evolves around money and resources like that. And again, if you're caught up in some of these other things that most of us are caught up in, then it's a strong possibility that we'll be out of the real race. And we want to stay in the real race. We don't want to be moved out to where we're not in the race that we really need to be in. So business, business requires education, and education really means refinement. Because education is not necessarily limited to, a high school and a university type diploma, university type credentials. Education is when we decide that we're going to be refined enough, and that we're going to seek the knowledge to really do what it is that we want to do, and do what we want to do that Allah approves of in a very professional way. You know, we used to have a monthly newsletter, which we started back up, and we had some problems, and the individuals that were doing the newsletter didn't feel like it was necessary to do anymore. And so someone thought that it might be better if we kept doing it, but they wanted to put it together in a way that wasn't as professional as what we had before. And so I said, if you're not going to put it together professionally, then don't do it. Because everything that we do now, you know, people judge you by your professionalism, and they judge you by what products you put out. You know, they make a decision about who and what you are based upon the products that you advocate, or the products that you produce, the material that you produce. And so if we're going to have a newsletter, you know, we want it to be a newsletter that's, you know, that's really something that marvels or rivals some of the other newsletters that we've seen out there. So anyway, with any newspaper, any other kind of publication, you know, that we're going to want to present. And so the business aspect of our life is something that we have to start paying a greater attention to. You know, many people in the other communities, you know, they immigrate here, they go to school, they become doctors, they become lawyers, they become engineers, they become very professional people. They start earning six-figure incomes, you know, and they become real, genuine assets in their community. They become the backbone, you know, they become the backbone that provides for the infrastructure of the Masjid in the community that they're living in. And we have to start thinking like that too. We have to start thinking long term. We have to start thinking legacy. We have to start thinking about what's going to be left after we're gone. Because as sure as water is wet, you know, that's one of my favorite sayings. As sure as water is wet, we're going to be leaving here. There's coming a time when we won't be here. And so what are we going to leave here? What kind of fruit, you know, is our tree going to produce and leave behind? What kind of what kind of legacy are we going to leave our children and those people who come after us, you know, that'll be taking over the reins and leadership in the roles that we are occupying right now? What are we going to leave them? You know, we don't want to kick the can down the road and leave everything like it is right now and not give them a better handoff. You know, when you're running in that race, you know, and you're running that race and that handoff, the way you give the baton to that next person, boy, that's going to give you an indication of how good of a start they're going to have. And so we want those people that come behind us to have a better start, or to have a good start when they start going forward. And we have to start thinking about business and business development in order to make that a reality, because it's about harnessing those resources, acquiring those resources that are going to make for us to have a better situation in the future. So, and that's, again, it's the real race. The real race is to master that which Allah has created, you know. Not own it, you know. Some people think they're supposed to own this stuff, you know. Only Allah is the owner of all of this, and we're custodians of it. You know, we're the custodians of what Allah has created. And so, but Allah says, seek with the means that He has made available to you, the life after this life, but do not neglect your share of the dunya, you know. And there are a lot of folks out there who have more than their share of the dunya. They got more than what they're supposed to have, you know. So we want to get our share of it. Right. And for us to have our share of it, first and foremost, we have to have taqwa. We have to have a special place in our heart for Allah. We have to seek Allah for Allah's guidance, and then we have to live our life in the way that we're supposed to live it, in accord with the tradition of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, we're supposed to live our life in an example of the best Muslim that we possibly can. And Allah will reward us for what we're doing, even more so than what we are being rewarded in this day or at this time. So we have to start being more formidable, because that's just what's going to make us independent. You know, we said the business of the education, you know, and business development. It is the path to true independence. And it's time, especially, like I said, in minority communities, it's time for us to become more independent than we have been in the past. And what makes us independent is us having access to those resources, for us having mastery of those resources, for us doing things that we know are going to be beneficial, things that are going to be profitable. We have to start thinking about business and business development much more so than we have been in the past. And I believe it's up to the imams. The imams, I think we have to be more forthright in putting that before the people on a regular basis, so people are aware, of the need, for this. Most of our communities are poor. We have trouble, getting things done financially. We have trouble raising money. We have trouble raising the kind of dollars we really need to raise. And again, like I said, we have to start organizing better. We have to start thinking better, and we have to start doing better. When in this city where we live, when I was a boy, the building that we occupy right now was the only masjid in the city. It was the only, this building that we're in right now was the only masjid in the city. And then we had, as the American Muslim Mission, we started a center in addition to this. And now today, there's 8 masajid in our town. And one of them was built from the ground up, like this one, that cost at that time over about $5 million. So, who has the resources to do that? How many masajid have our community built in this country? Maybe not so many, but it's hard for us to raise the monies to do so. It's hard for us to raise money. But when others can come here and raise money locally, when they can raise money locally to the tune of millions of dollars, and we can't raise money nationally to the tunes of the same, then we know that there's a problem with the way we either perceive things, the way we're doing things, or something. Something is not right. And we don't trust our leaders, or we don't trust somebody, and so as a result, we don't give our all. We don't give our all. But when it comes to legacy, we don't concern ourselves with too many things more so than what we're going to leave behind. Many times we're concerned about who's in charge, what's happening with the money, and we should be. There's no reason why we shouldn't be. We should always have checks and balances in place to where, our communities aren't ripped off by opportunists, because that's going to happen, or could happen if we're not careful. And so, but at the same time, we still have to be ready to make those sacrifices that are necessary to put our community in a much better situation for the future. We have to be ready, willing, and able to do that. We have to start thinking long term. In conclusion, Allah says in the Quran, never will you attain righteousness until you give freely of what you love. And sometimes, to give freely of what you love, takes on a whole different dynamic. And we love a lot of things. And if we love those things, sometimes they in themselves distract us. But we can't love anything more so than we love Allah. We can't love anything more than we love Allah. So anytime we love something more than Allah, it can distract us. It can become a major distraction for us. So with that, we hope and pray that Allah bless us and guide us and keep us on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ameen. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim wa barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin innaka Hamidum Majid. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ameen. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.